Welcome to a new era of Star Wars Unlimited. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I am back and finally talking about Legends of the Force. Again, because a lot of stuff has been spoiled. Some stuff in particular that's a little bit spicy. So let's get into it. Starting things off with the leaders, and well, I love these leaders. There is just so much. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the third sister. I mean, it's a cool leader, but I'm not a huge fan of the character. I get that they're trying to appeal with the new content that Disney Star Wars is making, but most of it kind of sucks. But the rest of it is gorgeous, incredible. I am loving it. So let's talk about all of the things that are just so good about this fifth set that are building off of so far the last set. With the last set, it basically powered the ever-living crap out of the space arena, and now we are finally getting a little bit of a balance to where, sure, the ground arena for a majority of Star Wars Unlimited was the big thing. But now, space is a little bit more of the emphasis and the focus of decks. A lot of decks. So, what I'm hoping, and what this set seems to be potentially delivering, is a balance where you have to evenly focus on one side, on each side of the arena, on the ground and the space. Or you just gotta go all in and hope. So, I think that this set is gonna just do wonders with the legend stuff being introduced, with stuff like Darth Revan and old stuff that not even Disney Star Wars or any Star Wars, shows, movies, whatever, have shown. Got tons of stuff to look forward to. And Darth Revan is the highlight of all of this and the true draw of this Legends of the Force stuff. The old world of Star Wars. And Revan, oh man, people love him. So Revan here is a villainy leader, only villainy leader, that says when a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may exhaust this leader, and if you do, give an experience token to that friendly unit. Seems like a pretty solid effect. Buffing up your stuff every time it kills and survives, defeating one of your opponent's things, seems like a pretty solid effect. Especially with this potential new focus on even focus on both sides of the arena. So that's pretty cool. But once you have 5 resources, Revan flips into a 3/6 with Restore 1, which is not an insane body, but whenever a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may give an experience token to that friendly unit. Except that's not once per round, that is whenever. So, the front side, once per turn, this is as many times as you want, or as you can do. So Darth Revan here just seems like a really insane value engine, like absurd value engine, and with some of the cards that have been spoiled, man, this guy looks fun. The thing is, in Star Wars' past, there has been some really cool leaders brought up and shown, but they're not great. They kind of stink. And with this guy, it seems like a unique take that's just completely off the wall. Like with, whatever the third set was called. Twilight of the Republic. With Palpatine, the one that basically doesn't have a unit backside. He's kind of he seemed really kind of cool and really interesting and really new and fresh, but he didn't really wind up doing anything. But with Darth Revan, this new take, this new spin, it seems like it's gonna work. And I'm really liking that because that means that so many new things can happen and can really work that completely shift people's thought process on Star Wars Unlimited, and it can work. And it cannot just be an idea that just fails. It can be something that actually works. And I'm really liking that. In addition, I love the Rebels show. And when Hera was spoiled in the first set, just like the idea of a Rebels deck seemed, like the Spectre deck seemed awesome. And it kind of sucks. But now, Kanan is here. And this is another thing that I really like. Because going forward, it seems like basically theme decks and tribal decks are getting better. With the last set, for example, Luke, a fighter deck. I mean, that's not really like an insane theme, but it was basically like a space deck of a kind. And it was really solid. Wedge. What's it called? A pilot deck. It's pretty solid. Darth Vader even. Like a really kind of like mediocre leader at first. Just Space Swarm Tribal. Just make a ton of TIE fighters. Go all in on vehicles. Vehicle Tribal. And it works. Like in the yellow Vader deck. It's working really freaking well. And with Gar Saxon, something from the second set that I completely overlooked for the longest time is now a really solid and competitive budget list. And it's basically shielded tribal. And Kanan here is looking to continue to build upon that theme of making underwhelming looking strategies and tribal synergies actually work really well. Because Kanan cares about specters and creatures, which there are quite a few creatures in the Star Wars Unlimited world right now that just don't really see play. And Kanan might be able to draw upon some of those better creatures and make some pretty good use out of them. Because Kanan, as an action for one resource, gives a shield token to a creature or a specter unit as an action and tapping him, of course. But that's pretty solid because, I mean, the thing that kind of held Hera back before is she didn't really do much. She didn't really make the payoff very good. With Kanan here, for one resource, once per turn, you get to give a shield token to a thing, which I don't think people always realize just how powerful shields are. One of the reasons that Gar Saxon is such like a surprisingly powerful deck is because almost everything he plays is shielded and has shields on them. And Kanan giving out free shield tokens, essentially, every single turn, while being a little bit off curve here and there, is really solid. I mean, the original Luke was, like, pretty freaking, like, scary looking at first. And, like, there have been decks, besides Luke, like Lando, for one resource, trying to give shield tokens to stuff, but have downsides. Because for one resource, giving a shield token to basically any unit you want is a really powerful effect. And Kanan does that, permitting it is within the tribal synergies, or whatever. And once you have 6 or more resources, the whole creature specter, focus continues to be something that you want to focus on because Kanan is a 3/6 shielded, which once you flip for 6 resources kind of sucks. But while you control another creature or specter unit, it gets +2/+2. So it could be a 5/8 shielded that you flip. Really hard to kill, deals a lot of damage, and continues to build upon the idea that creature specter tribal in this Kanan Jarrus deck could be really powerful. Now you might be thinking, oh, specters aren't that good. I'm sure there's Sabine from the OG set, the 2-resource 2/3, that's basically a 3/3 in a sense, but better in a sense. Sure, there aren't many great specters, but really with this set, there's actually a pretty large, selection of good specters. Especially from the last set, that random legendary drop that said each specter gets the same keyword that's on this one, the Ghost, basically legendary from the last set. That's a Vigilance Heroism card, legendary. Really solid in this deck, and immediately a 3 of. So, yeah, Kanan, insane to me. But looking at the actual units and everything else, I mean, first off, we got some specters. Ezra, a 3-resource 3/5 that on attack gives a shield token to another creature or specter unit. That is pretty solid. I mean, honestly, a 3-resource 3/5 ground body, that is on rate. I mean, Cassian Andor from set 2 is a card that's been played in decks, some of the most competitive decks, because it was a 3-resource 3/5. That most of the time was just vanilla. This card has an on-attack that buffs your board, which is very important in a game where some of the best decks are really, really aggressive, and you need to be able to race them. And this card can allow you to do that really, really well. Continuing down the line, you got some really cool creatures, like Tyranitar. It's a cool looking dude. It's a 5-resource 5/5 that while an opponent controls a force unit, it gets ambush. I mean, a 5-resource 5/5 ambush is pretty powerful, and considering how strong some of the potential force units are going to be in this set and how big of focus force is in this set, I imagine there are going to be decks that have at least a decent amount of force units, and I imagine a lot of decks, most of the decks, are going to have at least a couple for this card to be able to prey on, and a 5-resource 5/5 ambush is pretty solid. And then continuing down the line, you know, you got some pretty aggressive creatures like Attuned Firanok, a 2-resource 4/1 hidden, so the first turn it comes in, it can't be attacked, and with Kanan, you can give it a shield. So, give you a little bit of time to put the shield on it, make it harder for the opponent to kill, then the very next turn, send in 4 damage, and the opponent, unless they have very specific things, can't really deal with this card. Which, I mean, 4 damage is 4 damage. Again, a lot of the more powerful decks in the game right now, you need to race. This card can allow you to do that pretty well. And then there's, you know, this card, Tukata, a 3-resource 4/2 hidden. I mean, it's basically a worse version of this card. They're both fine, but I think Attuned Firanok is a little bit better. But basically what I'm saying is, like, there are, like, cards in the new set that are already working pretty well with Kanan, and not that much has been spoiled, and this is just one leader. And considering some of the stuff in the past, it's just a lot of things are building on each other, and now things are really starting to come together for really interesting, unique decks that aren't just like aggro like Sabine. Some really unique decks and tribal decks are bringing about a new spin on things, are starting to like get some real power and real fun cards, and some really fun things are happening. And Force, I guarantee, is going to even out the playing field, make ground and space both something that you want to focus on equally, not just only want to focus on space or only want to focus on ground like in the past. And I mean, continuing down the line of really cool stuff, Revan. Darth Malik, a 5-resource 4/7 overwhelm that when played, if you control a Sith leader unit, a flipped Revan for example, you ready this unit. A readied 5-resource 4/7 overwhelm is dumb. Like dumb. Especially in a deck that wants to get rid of your opponent's stuff and make your stuff bigger and make it easier for your stuff to kill more of your opponent's stuff. This card does that all in one convenient package. And plus, this can go in any villainy deck, not just Revan, so that's pretty good too. In decks outside of Revan, but it's especially good in Revan, obviously. But that's something that's also really cool. Some of the cards, like in the past I've complained that some rares are just too niche. Some of the stuff and legendaries can be really niche sometimes. In this set, there are starting to be more legendaries and more rares that aren't super niche. Like Liberated Darkness, just basically a better Commandeer from the last set. Commandeer is a really good card, like honestly. And this is just a better version that, who would have guessed, is in Cunning Villainy. So that's pretty cool. And you have to use the Force. So it's focusing on the new stuff while adding, I don't know, I like that. But also, as I have foreseen, this card is busted. And this is a rare that you want to pull. Like a lot of times, since you're only pulling one rare in a pack, I've had packs before where I just pull a rare and I don't give a crap about it. And if I pull something like this, I'm gonna be really happy. Because for 1 resource, basically getting a look at the top card played for 4 less is kind of stupid. Not gonna lie, it's pretty freaking stupid. And I mean, it's just really cool. Some other legendaries like Qui-Gon Jinn. This card is really good. A 7 resource, 7/5 ambush, kills the thing when it's defeated, which maybe is going to be pretty easy to do considering you know it only has 5 health. It can basically kill anything you want when it ambushes. When it's defeated, you get to put another thing either on the top or bottom of its owner's deck. Now, sure, your opponent gets to choose whether it goes on the top or bottom, but any ground unit that you want, when this card dies, that's not a leader, just gets freaking just waylaid, but better. Which is nuts for 7 resources. Just a really good way to kind of like stall out the board. There's a ton of other cards that are just really freaking cool. Like some of the super rares. Like stuff that are in starter decks. Like Darth Sidious. I've talked about this card before. This card seems really cool. And I mean, it's 8 resources. It's going to be harder to get there. But in control decks who are wanting to use the Force, this card could be a really good way to ensure that aggro decks just cannot get back. And I don't know, I just, like, this card's cool. And there are tons of cards that I'm just really excited about. Like, Sifo Dyas seems like a pretty interesting card. I mean, it's just like, a card like this that lets you cheat out a ton of stuff for free. It's just like, cards like this, sure, they might fly under the radar at first, but I can totally see something like a Sifo Dyas being a really powerful card in the future. So stuff is becoming less niche. Like Captain Enoch, a 3 resource 1/5 that gets 1+1 power for each trooper in your discard pile. This card seems kind of like, who cares, right? But I guarantee, with the way that some of these rares and these legendaries are starting to head, with more and more of them being less niche and more like specifically focused to a certain deck, like there's a reason that they're being made. This card seems like there's going to be a reason for it being around. Plus, I mean, continuing back on the Revan train, there are really good cards for Revan, and I'm basically kind of on board with Revan, you know, being aggression. Deathfield, really solid rare in Revan. Maybe it's a little bit too slow for the deck, but it's a really solid card that can shred a ton of the opponent's board down and deal a lot of damage. If it doesn't shred them down, to make your units deal more damage, or maybe be able to kill more of your enemy units more easily. I don't know. It's like, this card seems decent in Revan. Maybe it's like a 2 of. HK47, 2 resource, 2/4 legendary that is insane in Revan. Insane in Revan. You know, there is Darth Revan's Lightsabers, a rare upgrade, 2 resource, gives a 2/2 buff, and if the attached unit is a Sith unit, it gets grit. That's dumb. That's just dumb. But, like, there's a ton of really good things coming out of this set. I'm liking a lot of the stuff going on. I'm liking a lot of the strategies. I'm liking a lot of the cards. And, I mean, it's just like, it seems like, from a limited perspective, there are some really fun cards. Like Jedi Guardian, like Plo Koon, not just like a bunch of random cards that you're just compiling together to win games. There are cards that are like randomly like niche, but kind of in a good way. Allow for decks to churn instead of just being bulk cards. And rares and legendaries just becoming just, I don't know, like rares and legendaries in the past, they're either like good or they kind of are just like there. And people don't really care much about it. But with a lot of the rares and the legendaries that have been spoiled so far, it seems like more and more of them are really intriguing and interesting and something that I can totally see going in a deck of some kind and being useful and being powerful in some way. Or allowing for something in the future to actually become like a feasible deck. And I'm really looking forward to that. Plus, I mean, there's a new Grogu. It's not the best, but it's a cool little legendary. And he's cool. It's baby Yoda. But yeah, with all that aside, I hope you enjoyed this video. This set is looking really solid. Sure, we had a couple of bumps in the road with sets 2 and 3, but now that set 4 is out and set 5 looking to be just as good, maybe even better, I'm looking forward to the future of Star Wars in the new era that we're seeming to be diving into. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and enjoy.